What's going on, everyone? Here we are here on Beyond the Buzzer. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game, your good friend and ours, Danny Thompson. He is not in tonight. He is on assignment for the rest of the year. We will see him to drop in to talk a little NBA this week, but by on assignment, I mean he's on daddy duty, enjoying every single solitary minute for that. Don't worry, you got Hunter there below. We're going to hit NBA with him in just a minute. But of course, filling in, he runs the site that is I-95 Sports, but he's my co-host now. This is with the thing and the hosting and the when it just gets confusing. All I know is he's the artillery man, bringing it in from behind the scenes, not only behind the mic and camera, doing good things. He'll spend a little time with me later in the program talking football. Hey, his Notre Dame team's going to kick butt. Bobby Blackjack, what's going on, man?
What's up, fellas? How are you? So if I see, I told the guys earlier, if I seem a tiny bit distracted, if you play fantasy football, you know this is the first weekend of playoffs.
Playoffs?
Hunter's dad, he won his game, so he's looking good. So I am just looking for. I'll be looking at the game because I'm real close to making history. Because the big league I'm in, I'm real close. We're neck and neck. All goes down to this game right now. So if I see him a little bit, you know why. But hey, I'm here to talk football. I got my take on some NFL games from yesterday, and we're gonna start off with a little NBA talk.
Yeah, that's right too, man. So get right into it. Of course, you see the man underneath stepping in. Danny's not here. He does a lot of the NBA heavy lifting, and I am over here as the student trying to learn the way. But hey, listen, there's some football to be played. I ain't got time for all that. And of course, below, Hunter Metnick is in aboard. And listen, I know I cover UCF and he goes to Temple, but that's not even a thing. Like, it's all right. I respect Temple athletes on the whole. But yeah, Hunter, man. So listen, let's get right into it. I know Bobby's doing some stuff behind the scenes. Starting out with the NBA, man. Listen, well, actually, one bit of baseball stuff I want to get out of the way. Apparently, the Cleveland Indians are no longer the Cleveland Indians, right? For now, they're claiming to be the Cleveland baseball team. Guys, okay, but listen, real quick talk time here. Professional sports owners, pick a damn mascot. All right, listen, I can't even make a joke with the Cleveland baseball team. CPT, listen, at least with Washington, I can go, because you can't spell Washington football team without WTF, okay? At least I have that. With the Cleveland team, the Cleveland baseball team, I'd like. Can we at least call them the team formerly known as the team from Major League or something? Now, Hunter, they've been rumoring that there's a possibility that they'll go with the Cleveland Spiders, a la, I think it's back in the 1800s, maybe early 1900s, that they had that name. How do you feel about that?
It's definitely interesting. It'll be weird to have,
At least I have that. They'll go with the Cleveland
we had Washington for a little bit. Like there's so many different names that they could have gone with and they're still not figuring it out. So I'm excited to see. It probably just depends on marketing, honestly, with what's going to be the best fit. But Spiders are definitely interesting. I don't know how much little kids will like the name, but should be fun.
I mean, you could strike fear into the hearts of your enemies that way. And listen, October is supposed to be a big month in the MLB. Why not leverage the power of Halloween on your side? And actually, I looked at some of the throwback gear. To be honest, Hunter, I got to tell you, haven't seen it yet. It's a pretty good look. I mean,
I'll have to take a look.
It's not California Angels. Notice I said California Angels on purpose, by the way. It's not California Angels cool, but it's pretty cool. I don't know. And listen, with like, there's I see a lot more possibility. What I don't want to have happen is one of the nicknames out there in consideration is the Rockers. Okay. Here. Quick talk for those of you that may not realize this. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame had a small role to play in Art Modell moving the team out the city. You know that, right? Because the city of Cleveland decided to finance housing that took money away, and that's the reason why there's a Ravens team in Baltimore. Y'all realize that. I don't know. Maybe it's a way for you to mark the now departed I think Art Modell is dead. I don't know. Anyway, side note. I mean, and of course, if you wanted to name it after a bad host of The Price is Right, I heard someone out there suggest the Cleveland Carries. That's a big no. I mean, like, there's nothing like if I have my batting helmet on and it's just black frame glasses on the front, that's like,
there's the different teams just changing their names left and right. It's just it's different.
Yeah, well,
it's
listen,
weird to see it.
If you're going to reference Drew Carey, you got to go from the Drew Carey show. Don't you have to make it the Cleveland Oswalds or the Cleveland Meanies? Like all the makeup, like that scary makeup on the forehead.
Yeah,
that
could be interesting.
The damn spider. You're darn right. Anyways, so we got that bit of news out of the way, and I can claim I talked my bit of baseball for the entirety of the month that I'm required to by quota. Let's get to the NBA. So. Listen, man, there are the obvious pieces of hype, a lot of big pieces moving around, the whole situation with the James Hardens and the Chris Pauls and the Kyries. We have another ball in play, so to speak, in the form of rookie. See what I did there? Just as long as their dad doesn't end up on a show again. And like, that's trouble I don't need.
I think everyone's waiting for that Lavar Ball versus Michael Jordan one-on-one that's been hyped up for the past year or so. Who knows? We'll see.
I'll get that pay-per-view. Woo! Hey, listen, if we can see that boxing match, we can.
Oh my God!
So listen, man. I know. DT and I have been jawing at it. In the past weeks coming. I'll ask your opinion because you're here and let you kind of take the balls. The Lakers is okay. I'm not saying that they're the most dominant team on paper in the NBA. No, actually, I'm going.
Yeah, you should say that.
You say it, Care. So, there's been a bit of preseason. There's been a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, in your view, so we can get a fresh take on it, how do you think the Lakers are looking so far?
As of right now, they're looking like they're prone to repeat this season. They took their core from last year and then got better. And it's crazy to say that, but the additions of Dennis Schroeder, he's probably going to be the starting point guard with LeBron. If LeBron decides to play point guard, he'll get moved to the bench. But Dennis Schroeder's been looking like a stud offensively and defensively for that team. He's an upgrade over Rajon Rondo, what they had last year. So his addition, I think, is going to be huge. You also got Montrezl Harrell, who was probably the most surprising move from the offseason from him switching LA teams. And I mean, there was a rumor that he turned down a $20+ million 4-year deal from the Charlotte Hornets to stay competing for the Los Angeles Lakers. And he's most likely going to come off the bench. They also signed Marc Gasol, who will probably be the starting center for that team. Good playmaking center. But Montrez and all the additions that the Lakers made, they just look, they're with LeBron and AD, who are 2 top 5 players in the NBA right now. They're prone to repeat. They have no reason that they should fail this season.
If there's a weakness on this Lakers squad, what would you say that it is? If you were coaching a team opposite them, what would you attack at this point?
The only way that you're going to stop it is you can't go in the paint. With Anthony Davis and LeBron James being a 6'9" best player in the NBA, you cannot go into the paint and expect to score. I mean, there's no way. You have to put shooters around them and hope that your shooters are on. That's how the Miami Heat took 2 games from them, having Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. Unfortunately, Jimmy Butler for the Miami, he wasn't a big 3-point shooter in the finals, and I think that kind of hurt them a little bit. But the best way is just to shoot the ball against the Lakers, and you have to play fast offense with the Lakers because you can't. They have. I mean, even their bench is looking good now. They re-signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was a huge piece of that team last year. They still have the meme of the NBA, Alex Caruso, who actually made a name for himself in the finals. He played his role really well. He played that starting shooting guard role, I believe. But if you're going up against the Lakers, I'd say you have to have a player like a Duncan Robinson or a Tyler Hero, like the Miami Heat do, who can just launch threes and make them. That's the best way to stop it.
Well, at one point in Orlando, they had Terrence Ross. No, yeah, man, listen, I'm in Orlando. I don't know what good shooting looks like anymore.
Yeah, not Markelle Fultz.
Steve Clifford basketball will not beat the Lakers. I'll agree with that. I don't care if you've got Vooch or not. But anyways, so out west, one last question before we shift it over to the east. Out west, we were talking off there a little bit. I got to bring this up because it's every day you hear about a personality making $100 bet with their family, man, all based on Chris Paul. Like, how does one get confident enough for anything involving Chris Paul at his age to bet $100 on it? How's that going?
So yeah, my dad and I last night actually he's a little bit of a Utah Jazz. My dad and I are both Golden State Warriors fans. We were talking NBA a little bit, and my dad and I made a $100 bet saying he thinks the Utah Jazz will have a better record than the Phoenix Suns next season, where I think Phoenix will pull it out. The reason I made this, there's only one reason I made this bet, and that is the name you brought up, which is Chris Paul. Chris, 6-year-old point guard now, and carried the Oklahoma City Thunder last year to a 4 seed and 7 games with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. You're now going to put him next to Devin Booker, who's arguably a top 3 shooting guard, arguably top 5 scorer. Let me put that out there in the NBA. I think Devin Booker could have an MVP caliber season next to Chris Paul. And to me, Chris Paul on the Suns, I think the Suns team is better than what the Thunder team last year was. And the Thunder were a 4 seed. Maybe that's just me, but I don't see Chris Paul going that much on the decline. I'll take Phoenix any day of the week over Utah.
And hey, I'll put it this way. When it comes to the West, it's always going to be a good competition. The East is better than it was, and we'll get to them in just a second.
Yes.
But you cited being one who follows the GS dub.
Yep.
They're getting slept on a bit too much. Yeah, I know that Klay Thompson, got out of bed and slipped on something and hurt himself.
Second year in a row.
I mean, listen, I can make all the jokes about Chris Paul and, you can't help the club in the tub and make you feel about your bet. But at some point, if I make that joke about Klay Thompson, that's just cruel, right?
Yeah.
Even with him gone, I mean, they're going to be over or under the 4.5 seed for the Golden State Warriors to finish.
This is a diehard Warrior fan you're speaking to. I'm going to even have to go probably under.
Okay.
I don't think that they're going to be able to get to that 4. Their best case scenario, in my opinion, is that 4 seed. I don't see them. The West is so stacked. I mean, you have to me, the West is 12 teams deep. Any of the top 12 teams, you got a couple teams in there. I don't think, and I'm counting out Greg Popovich of the Spurs.
Which is always something you should
exactly.
Greg
Popovich Greg Popovich could come out and lead that team to a playoff team. But yes, I do agree with attacking the Lakers.
Yeah, he's going for the shooters, like you said. Yeah, no doubt.
You have to get shooters around them. But if we're talking Golden State, I think they're a playoff team. I think Steph Curry might without Klay Thompson be an MVP caliber player again, as we've seen him do in the past. But the West is so stacked, and there's so many different teams that are going to be competing. Where I don't see the Warriors or any really. I think the top 3 teams in the West are the Lakers, Nuggets, and Clippers. I don't think those 3 teams are going to be stopped in the West right now, unless a team like Utah or Golden State can pull it out. But Golden State's definitely going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah. Oh, no, they're always a fun team to watch, too, when they're healthy. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this. If you want Steph Curry to be an MVP, he might actually have to make a shot in the 4th quarter. Anyway, I said it, Hunter. I said it. I'm not even a LeBron guy. And all the people that go after him for 4th quarter shots, and this guy disappears for years in the 4th quarter, and I hear nothing.
Steph Curry should have 2 Finals MVPs under his belt right now. I'll say it right now. Steph Curry was the best Warrior player in those 2 NBA Finals that they won.
So Hunter, we move on to the Eastern Conference. What do you think is going to happen in Houston?
Oh, so James Harden finally, he came back. He's officially going to play tomorrow night. He reported to practice today. I'll talk first about if James Harden stays with that Rockets team. They are a 4 or 5 seed. No matter, I don't care what anyone says. James Harden is such an incredible player. He's going to be the player where when he retires, everyone's going to miss him. And people don't appreciate him for what he is right now. He's a 35 points per game scorer. I see Houston. They built the team that he wanted around him, and he still wants to leave. They traded Russell Westbrook for John Wall, and I think James Harden has gone through Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, and now John Wall. I don't know if there's an answer for Houston at point guard ever next to James Harden, but underrated signing was Christian Wood from Detroit. He's going to come in and bring valuable center minutes to that team. He looked like an all-star caliber center at the end of last season. And they also signed Boogie Cousins, where Cousins, we haven't seen him healthy in 2 to 3 years now. And back 2 to 3 years ago, he was a top 2-3 center in the NBA. So if Harden decides to say, I don't see them, they can't miss the playoffs. There's absolutely no way with the West is stacked, but I'd put Houston above Golden State and Utah if Harden decides to stay. That's just my opinion on that. I think John Wall can come back and be a 15-8 kind of guy for them. But with the rumors of everything going on, it doesn't seem like Harden's going to end up staying with that team. So depends on what Houston gets back in a Harden trade. But if Harden's not on that team, I don't think they can make the playoffs. But with James Harden, there's no way you're missing the playoffs.
Well,
So,
go ahead.
Hunter, one more question on the Western Conference. Give us one team who did not make the playoffs last year that you see making the playoffs this year.
Ooh, I talked to the Phoenix Suns. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They went 8-0 in the bubble, and everyone wanted to see them be that 8 seed. And with the addition of Chris Paul, there's no way that I don't see them making the playoffs at least. But to me, a sleeper team in the West would have to be the Minnesota Timberwolves. We didn't.
What?
Yeah, crazy idea. I've been watching them play actually in the preseason, and
are you even old enough to know who Troy Hudson is?
It's just the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves have so many different young pieces. If Anthony Edwards can turn out to be the player that we say, we really didn't get to see D'Angelo Russell play for them last year. And D'Angelo Russell, to me, is one of the most talented offensive players. He's if anyone's watching this and knows me personally, D'Angelo Russell is my favorite player in the NBA. Mm-hmm. That's coming from a Warrior fan who loves Steph Curry. D'Angelo Russell is the smoothest NBA player you'll watch play. And
for what it's worth, I talk all that trash. I do like me some Karl Anthony Towns. I actually got to see him in person when I was up there checking out the Vikings Dolphins game a few years back now. It was a sight to behold.
Yeah. As long as Karl Anthony Towns isn't a top 10 center defensively, he's probably one of the most skilled offensive centers in the NBA. But I think the Timberwolves could sneak in to possibly get one of those 8-9 seeds if a team like the Pelicans falls off and doesn't improve as drastically as we think Zion will. But I am high on the Minnesota Timberwolves to at least become a contending team to make a playoff spot in the West.
Fair enough, man. And listen, real quick thing, we'll get this out the way. We'll go to the East. The East is, I just air quotes, boring by comparison because there's just been so much drama lately. I was actually going to save Harden talk for the East because I know all the drama and all that. It's connected with the Eastmost team. But from Harden's perspective, first of all, I'm not signing off on, him checking out to, let's say, clubs that serve chicken wings late at night, as Danny and I like to refer to it. Instead of going to practice and all that stuff. But I mean, look at it from this guy's perspective, right? He's got guys that are typically, actually, Michael's bringing it in here right now, bringing it up with the different injury issues and chemistry issues, right? You're bringing in, you have Westbrook coming in, who's a guy that's used to carrying it all, is a physical entity who's getting older and starts fights with the fans, oh, by the way, when he's in OKC. Chris Paul, again, the same aging factor. You mentioned Boogie Cousins being somebody else too. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't want to use a term like washed up because that's too much, but listen, Father Time is starting for the final push and to claim yet another victory because he is undefeated. Even Tom Brady is going to fall off at some point. But from Harden's perspective, with the guys they've gotten and tried to build around him with, is it fair for him to be frustrated? Like, if I'm him, I'm like, nah, dude. Like, even Dwight, you thought Dwight Coward? I'm sorry, I'm from Orlando. I said it wrong. Dwight Coward is a mesh with Harden, personality wise. I don't. They haven't. Now, granted, I know they're competing with LeBron James as a GM and stuff. I understand that, but. I never really felt like whatever Houston came out with, I'm like, ooh, that's going to be good. But I never said championship after I saw it. So, like, I mean, it makes sense for Harden basketball-wise, right?
Yeah. I was a big believer in this offseason was going to be the Houston Rockets were going to take that Oklahoma City Thunder route and just blow it up, trade Westbrook for picks, trade Harden for picks, and rebuild. They went the different route. But for the moves that they could have made to keep Harden, they didn't bring in any guys who right now, the guys they brought in, if we're going to talk Boogie Cousins and John Wall, they have something to prove. Boogie Cousins was a top 5 center a couple years ago, has been hurt. People have been doubting him and wouldn't sign him. John Wall's coming back off of not playing for 2 years. These guys don't care right now about their personal stats. Russell Westbrook came out when he requested a trade from Houston and said, I want a place I can go where I can be the ball-dominant point guard like I was in OKC. That's not what they're looking for in Houston next to James Harden, who's already going to put up 35 points per game. They need people who are going to work hard on winning. And that's why I think if they were going to do anything to keep a playoff team, I don't think this puts them over the hump to be a championship team. There's no way that they're better than even the Clippers or Nuggets or especially the Lakers. But they're bringing in guys that don't care right now about how personally they play. They just want to show people that they can be a part of a winning franchise and that John Wall wants to come back and be a top 5 point guard again and bring back his speedy, fun, athletic plays like he always did. But that's an interesting take. It's always been with Houston. It's always been a chemistry problem. That's what they've had troubles with there for the past couple seasons. But I disagree with the John Wall with his gang. Listen, John Wall's been known for that, but he hasn't played a game in 2 years. I don't think he's going to come in and be like, give me the ball. He's not going to be like, I want to take the ball away from James Harden. He's going to be like, I want to win. I want to prove to people that I can be a winning caliber point guard. And that's why I think if Houston was going to do anything to not go into that rebuild mode, I think this is what they did this offseason was good enough.
And so let's go ahead and transition over to the East because I know 2 of the 4 teams that one James Harden speaks of are out East. Of course, I referred to Bam Adebayo and Butler and company in Miami. I believe the Sixers are on that list as well. And that's the one that makes me kind of stop and curl my head. Now, granted, if I'm going to give Chris Paul a hard time as a possibility for somebody who might struggle to make it through an entire season, I can't mention Philly and not talk about Joel Embiid and the same thing. So let's take that kind of off the table for a minute. Like, could the Sixers acquire him in any sort of a trade where they would still have enough pieces to threaten in the East? Because, I mean, you still got enough improvement. For now, I don't see a way the Heat get toppled again at the moment with Bam and Butler doing their thing, unless it's by the Celtics, who've done a lot of good stuff. Danny Ainge, as a guy I liked as a Celtic, who I followed even closer when he was siding with Barkley, the guy who was my first jersey I ever got out in Phoenix, and then turns out to be a great coach. It's a good thing all the way around.
This is going to be such a unique season with Corona and everything. I mean, it's going to look like the NFL. You got random players missing random games all the time. So especially in NBA when they're playing inside, it's going to be a weird season.
Let's put it this way, and bringing up the COVID thing, I'm less concerned about a basketball squad than I would be a baseball squad, whereas they don't play series in several games against each other nights in a row necessarily. There's a lot of travel and there's a road trip and they're moving and they're going. Yeah, the travel aspect is riskier, but with them having, like, whether they're taking a charter bus or a charter flight somewhere, there's a lot less risk than, let's say, an MLB squad, for example. In the case of the NFL, I know there have been some mishaps, but we still have a season,
Exactly.
College football been a bit more challenging, but really I think it depends on the individual program. Say what you will about the UCF Knights, who I cover. They went from being one of the worst hits group in the offseason to now not having missed a single solitary game and playing against a very respectable team in the Boca Raton Bowl come December 22nd. More on that later. But yeah, I just, because it's a thing that's still happening, I want to
quick little rant.
Too. But yeah, go back over to the East, man. Talk to me. Is there a way the Sixers could actually have Harden without giving up the piece they would still need to topple a Miami, a Boston?
All the rumors that I've seen, it doesn't seem like Houston, as of right now, is willing to give up Harden without getting either a young superstar or a proven superstar back yet. So the rumors I've seen is Ben Simmons getting traded to Houston for James Harden. Now, if I'm Philly, if you're planning on trying to win win a championship this season, you'd have to do that trade. I mean, there's no way that I know Philly fans everywhere. I go to college in Philadelphia. Everyone loves Ben Simmons. No one cares about the fact that he won't shoot a three-pointer in Philadelphia. But if you're looking to win now, a tandem of Joel Embiid and James Harden, that's one of the top duos in the NBA without doubt. Joel Embiid, he's had, yes, as you said, he's had his injury prone in the past, but he's been a proven top center in the NBA for the past 2 seasons. Him and Jokic have been battling it for top 2 centers in the NBA. But if the Philadelphia 76ers could pull off a trade surrounding Tobias Harris and draft picks and keep a core of Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and James Harden, I will not bet against that team in the East. The other teams I've seen Harden looking at, I believe he also put Milwaukee and Brooklyn on his list of teams. I know Brooklyn's been on that team for how long now. I don't think Brooklyn has the assets if they're not willing to trade Kyrie.
Do you want Kyrie?
It'll be a third team. The only way the Nets could pull this off will be a third team involved.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point, Bobby.
Yeah, I haven't actually really looked at the 3-team trades and what could happen between that, but it seems like Harden just wants to go to the East and compete for one and put one of those teams over the top. He just wants to get away from LeBron, which I don't blame him. But Harden has so many different. If the Rockets do look to trade him, I think they're going to wait like 20 to 30 games. Actually, I don't see Harden getting traded before the season starts because I think Houston's going to realize that they're not going to get a superstar back. They need to get future assets and just hope that they can stay in a somewhat contention and have future assets. But I see Brooklyn and Philly being the top 2 teams that he could go to. Miami has the assets, but it seems like Miami fans are so in love with Tyler Hero that Miami wouldn't trade Tyler Hero for Michael Jordan in his prime. Like that's what it looks like right now. And so if we're gonna go off of that and say that and say Miami's won't trade Tyler Hero, which if they do, Miami's over the hump of everyone. I don't see if Miami gets James Harden. That'd be a scary 3 of him, Jimmy, and Bam. But
that'd be fun. See, that'd be fun.
Yeah, and
that would be. I hate to say this word. That would be equitable. Because they have 2 to 3 stars. One team. He goes to Philadelphia, or obviously you get rid of one of the big 2. He goes to Brooklyn. He wants to do it without having to give up Kyrie or KD. That's 3 big stars on one team. But you know what? I actually would enjoy watching Harden in Miami.
I would too.
Obviously that would be fun. I'm more curious. It won't happen. Like, what on earth would they give them? I get it. Before you even say it, I know that's a thing. Yeah. But I would love to see Harden team up with Giannis. That to me would be the most fun to watch. For literally inside the paint and at the top, I think that'd be a decent pairing. You're not going to get it. And you're making the face, Hunter. I know it's not going to happen. But, listen, if I had my PS5 in front of me, I'd run the simulation. Why
not? But I've seen, Harden and Giannis go back a little bit. I remember Giannis when he was picking his All-Star, when he was the All-Star captain this past season. Mm-hmm. He had 3 guys left on the board, and those were James Harden, Trae Young, and Kemba Walker. Mm-hmm. And obviously James Harden is miles above Trae Young and Kemba Walker right now. But Giannis said, I want someone who will pass the ball. Give me Trae Young. Harden and Giannis have beef, so I don't know if chemistry-wise it would work, but if we're going no chemistry, NBA 2K style, that would be fun to watch.
I hear that, but at the end of the day, Harden put him on the list. Now, if he's trolling, that's one thing, but this is a list. I would agree with you in every other situation. Beef is real. Listen, I lived in the world with Richard Sherman and Michael Crabtree. I got you. But what I'm trying to get at is if Harden didn't offer it himself, I'd sit in your camp. I get it. And then maybe that's part of the reason I want to see it. At the end of the day, I still got to talk about this stuff with Danny every week, twice a week, depending on how things go. So hey, I said, listen, it won't happen, but damn it, I'd love it.
It would be fun.
Let's go ahead and wrap it up on the NBA thing here with one last very important question. I'm going to steal Bobby's thunder and ask this question for him. The East. Who's the team we haven't talked about? Because so many teams, and I ask this because there's so many teams in the East that are looking better, right? Danny reminds me constantly how Collins is going to not have a 25-game suspension in Atlanta alongside of Trae Young and company, okay?
Yes.
Brooklyn has the ability to be a seance to rise from the dead. I have no illusions of grandeur here in my local town, Orlando, that they will field a playoff game. I don't care if our logo happens to share their colors, much like my semi-pro football jersey.
Beautiful.
And we already talked about some of the other big players going down the line. Who should I watch? Because listen, we all know that the East gets a rough time for being, air quotes, bad basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be misassociated with such a bad rap out East?
There was a team that when the NBA released what teams are going to be having nationally televised games, there was a team in the East that should not have gotten 0 nationally televised games, and that is the Washington Wizards. Russell Westbrook, he is probably one of the most slandered players in the NBA throughout the entire league. He's the inefficient, can't shoot point guard who averaged a triple-double one year, and he hasn't been the same since. The last time, this is what I have to say about the Wizards. Bradley Beal, to me, is a very similar player right now in his career to a Paul George. Just one season ago, not last season, 2 seasons ago now, since it feels like last season was yesterday, and NBA is already starting back up.
Because it was.
Yeah, crazy. But the last time that Russell Westbrook played with Paul George was 3rd in MVP voting. There is nothing telling me Bradley Beal, after averaging 30 points per game last year, is not going to be top 5 in MVP voting next to Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook carried one of the worst Oklahoma City Thunder teams to a 6 seed and 1 MVP within his triple-double season. Russell Westbrook's one of those players. The New York Knicks could have traded for Russell Westbrook, and the Knicks become a playoff team. You put him next to Bradley Beal. They have Rui Hachimura. They have my favorite draft player. Intangibles is going to be huge in this NBA season. But you put Russell Westbrook next to Thomas Bryant, my favorite draft player. My favorite player from this past draft, which was Denny Avdia, one of the most slept on players from overseas. Rui Hachimura, Bradley Beal, and Russell Westbrook. There's no way this team's not a playoff team. And if I'm the Boston Celtics or Brooklyn Nets, especially if I'm Brooklyn and Kevin Durant, I do not want to go up against Russell Westbrook in that first round, because he's gonna be out to prove himself and he's gonna want to show the world that he's still Russell Westbrook and he's still that MVP player we saw a couple years ago. I mean, I still see Russell Westbrook as a top 4 point guard in the NBA, and I think he's just going to elevate Bradley Beal's game even more. So the Wizards are going to be a fun team to watch this season.
There you have it. There you go, man. Well, hey, listen, great job, Hunter. Good work as
Thank
always.
you.
Hunter Bendick, listen, you got business to handle. You got classes and finals to prepare and crush. Do the thing. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank
Bobby
you.
and I are going to clean it up now with football, and hopefully we can make football look as good as basketball did, brother. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Yeah, I've also got
tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. My buddy Zach and I got our MVP podcast tomorrow, so I just want to throw that out there. If anyone enjoyed hearing us talk about basketball, you got an hour and 15 minutes tomorrow morning. So come join us.
What's the name of the show again?
MVP Productions.
There you go. All right, got to drop the goods, man. Twitter, all that crap.
Thank you. Hunter Metnick on Twitter. I Hunter with 3 R's on Instagram. Look me up on YouTube. You got all of our past podcasts there, and as just Hunter Metnick on YouTube, and it's all NBA stuff with me. That's my specialty. I'm in my fantasy football league with Bobby. Bobby had the worst record in our league. Would you like to put that out there before you talk about fantasy football?
I had second worst.
Oh, if that makes you feel any better, we'll say second worst.
He's not the Jets. He's the Falcons. Get it right.
Think about this,
Andy Thompson.
Hunter, real quick, think about this. 4 teams that made the playoffs last year, we all missed this year. So we're getting it's an odd year. It's 2020. Let the other guys have a chance.
If that's gonna be your reasoning, let me put this out there for trading Devontae Adams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Cam Newton. There's your reasoning.
He started off good.
Hey, listen.
That's all I gotta say.
It's Christmas, Hunter. He was he's feeling the spirit of giving.
True. He gave my dad the number 1 seed, and my dad's probably going to win because of it. And that's all I've been hearing about for the past 3 weeks. So
you'll tie, fools. What? No. Anyways, Hunter, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you soon, man. So, Bobby,
hold on.
Yeah.
Hi, Precious.
Hi, Precious. Hey, yay. So listen, man, let's go ahead and get into some college football here real quick. First of all, just some light UCF housekeeping I have to get out of the way. First of all, for those who haven't heard yet, Mackenzie Milton, the star quarterback that got hurt in 2018 on Black Friday, is going to make a recovery and play next year. As it would seem, though, it is going to be for FSU. Now, for those who are excited about his future and all of this, let me tell you for a fact, I'm going to go on record that I am not. Don't get it twisted. I don't have a problem with the kid wanting to come back and play, and he's a great story. Think Alex Smith if you don't know. But any quarterback that just suffered a big injury behind that FSU offensive line, Bobby, I can't be the only one who thinks that this is a dangerous move, right? Anyways, I feel better. I just had to get that off my chest.
Get it out.
What's that?
No, get it out.
Yeah, I feel better. Anyways, the reason why I bring up UCF isn't just because I cover them for the 3-point conversion and I'm getting in my cheap plug.
Hold on one second. Yep. Hold on one second. Our buddy Michael. Michael, I will post it in the same group tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. And Mike, if you want your own show, I do run this whole thing. So, send me a Facebook message. I get your own show on 95 Sports Network.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why he's wearing the swag, and it's not just because he looks so damn good at it. No, yeah, man. So with all that in mind, the Boca Raton Bowl being played a week from tomorrow, the 22nd, has been scheduled, and UCF is a featured participant. They were invited late last week in light of the fact that the championship game was iced for the American Athletic Conference with the Tulane Golden Hurricane and the undefeated Cincinnati Bearcats, the ones that are getting overlooked in the media because, well, their opponent. Well, it's Cincinnati too. Like, what do you want me to tell you?
If the Bengals were a better team, more prominent in the NFL circles, especially after Burrow got hurt,
yeah,
help the college as well. You think?
PR wise, it couldn't hurt, but then they had to face a couple issues. I believe they had to miss. Let's say, for example, Houston had a COVID issue, so they didn't even have that game. For example, things like that got involved. For all intents and purposes, the Bearcats haven't played in like a month. Since they beat UCF. I could be wrong there. I'd have to check the schedule. But the punchline is, we're hearing more about Coastal Carolina and BYU. Matter of fact, we talk about the two engines that could colliding in one each other, where Coastal Carolina was victorious. However, the consolation prize for BYU, the Boca Raton Bowl against UCF. Now, both these teams are going to be vying for respect. Both of these teams can find a way to salvage a season that looks pretty good if one beats the other. And so I'll put it this way. If you want fireworks, check that particular game out. It's that simple. I'll be covering it on 22nd. But what about BYU landing the Boca Raton Bowl? Do you think they should be in a higher bowl than that, Bobby? Do you think they're getting slighted in some way, shape, form, or fashion?
I would do some homework stuff. Now, BYU is playing who now? I'm sorry.
UCF and the Boca Raton Bowl on 22nd.
Why not?
Well, I like it, but here's the thing: your ACC.
Well, it's funny. BYU they kind of got screwed by their own eagerness, right? So they take that game against Coastal Carolina a few weeks back, and on short notice, lose the game like last minute, right? Wasn't it a close game till the end?
It was a pretty close game, absolutely.
All right, so you know what? In hindsight, should have taken that game. But they lost. You have to go in and play the game. Obviously, you play to win. So they did what they had to do, came up short, and I mean, were they really going to jump Cincy as far as Being that what is it called? It's the group of 5, right?
Yeah.
We're going to jump Cincy and be a group of 5 school to get that one spot on New Year's Day.
Well, I like the strategy that they're trying to get as many games in as possible. That's the main reason they did it, was to force in a game so they had a good number of total wins, right? Because at the end of the day, to your point, the downside for both teams was the schedule going in. I think I kind of alluded to this last week, right? Other than Liberty, Coastal Carolina had no one else impressive on their schedule, and the way that Liberty is the most impressive is they would have been, if they stayed undefeated, been a team that beat 2 ACC teams as a group of 5, proving once again the inferiority of the ACC. By the way, props to your Notre Dame Fighting Irish as mercenaries continuing to dominate that conference, at least up until this weekend, further proving my point of the ineptitude of the ACC. However, when no matter which team lost, because you had a lot of group of 5 teams in a lot of cases, no true juggernauts. Okay, I think the biggest game that Coastal had to that point was Appalachian State, which, I mean, not to talk crap on App State, but that ain't going to get you any playoff votes. Just saying that off the top of my head. As far as BYU, the biggest game on their schedule was one with Army that was postponed. And then, the rest of the game is lined with juggernauts. Like, I think you can safely say that Boise State was their biggest win. And the next one could arguably be a Houston team that UCF also beat. But what's interesting, if you're going to compare light games, these both UCF and BYU beat Houston in similar fashion. So really, when it comes to the Boca Bowl itself, that looks like it's going to be a good game. But BYU doesn't really have a super impressive schedule themselves. So whichever team lost was going to take a huge hit. Huge. Absolutely huge. So to your point, Bobby, I know it was a risky game, but if they lost, they were going to plummet, right? What is BYU at now? I think they're 16th on the coaches poll, which who cares about that? But they're 14th in the AP, and that's after being in the top 10 or so just a bit before. But now we got Coastal Carolina in the top 10.
I'll tell you what. Let's take a few moments, and you're our college football guru. I'm more of a one-sided guy. I obviously Notre Dame, and I'll see what Rutgers does because they're right on my, an hour south of me. Okay. But sell us. Take 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever. Sell us on Coastal Carolina.
Well, I really wish you hadn't done that, Bobby, because my question was going to be, why should I be excited for them? Listen, if we are gonna, if back in 2017 and 2018, we were going out of our way to be critical of the UCF Knights and the weakness of their schedule in those years, even though the things that stopped the bigger games on their schedule were hurricanes and things out of their control, right? How are we giving the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers the same opportunity? Now, granted, they're 13th in the college football playoff, whilst the Cougars of BYU were 18th in the college football playoff. Okay, fine. But the punchline is, again, I cited that the strongest game before BYU was going to be not Liberty. I'm sorry. University Louisiana, Lamo, like Louisiana Lafayette. Okay, or not Lafayette. I'm sorry, Louisiana Monroe. The Ragin' Cajuns, as they're better known, right? They beat them, excuse me, in their 4th game, and now they're set to play them to take a shot at the Sun Belt title. Okay. Not exactly excited about that, I have to tell you. Now, and in the end, the reason why I was mentioning Liberty before is that's where it looked like we were going to see the collision course for the group of 5 happen. Well, now that's not happening.
Why wouldn't the powers that be? All right, the game was canceled due to COVID, if I'm not mistaken. So why didn't they make that a bowl game? I'd watch that game.
Well, see, that's the other thing. If the Bearcats should fall, then Coastal has a shot at getting that New Year's Six game, right? Which in and of itself doesn't bother me necessarily, but again, to put them in the playoff over an undefeated Bearcats team, I can't take that. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I'm talking playoff. I'm talking just a nice, even if it's the very first game on New Year's Day or a pretty prominent secondary bowl, just put Coastal Carolina and Liberty, let them play.
I mean, at this point,
do you see Cincy losing at all?
I don't.
So they should get that spot then, right? They should get that New Year's Day spot.
It's right.
One spot reserved for the group of 5, correct?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So there's a group of 5 team spot in the New Year's Six Bowl, which is of late is where you've seen UCF get their success. It was Memphis last year, if I remember correctly. That's generally how that works. You're absolutely right. Where I'm see, and not that these are bad questions, but here's the part. Here's the thing I can't get past. Like, first of all, Tulsa is a good football team, right? And I'm not just saying that because they beat UCF. I mean, they're a pretty good football team. Their defense is solid.
Yeah.
They almost beat Oklahoma State in week 1 or week 2. Now, granted, that's looking less impressive every year with how the Big 12 fell flat on its face. But hey, all but basically one team in the Big 10 did the same thing. And, well, no one's penalizing them. More on that later. But, if I'll put it this way, the Bearcats to me are clearly the team that deserve a New Year's Six Bowl. But my question is, why are they outright written off for the playoff? And playoff, yes, I'm going to be that guy. I don't understand today, without having won their conference championship, that Ohio State is in consideration, right? What I don't get, what I don't understand, here comes the haters, like, whoa, what are you saying, Kyle? Yeah, first of all, the conference had to change their own rules to make it work.
Yeah, right? I thought I was BS myself.
Well, that's probably because it was, Panda, but but the top 4 as it stands today, right? Some combination of Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and that 4th team is kind of in contention, but it's been handed to Ohio State, right? I think that's a pretty safe way to put it. Now, there's a lot of people that would argue, well, if all things were equal, Ohio State would still be in the top 4. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But that's not the story, right? They're still a team with only 5 bleeding games in it. And I don't care who you are, winning 5 games against opponents that aren't necessarily as good, 10 games against opponents that aren't necessarily as good, or even if it's only 8 games, let's say. Oh, look, Cincinnati has 8 games. Winning 8 football games in a row against teams that are, at least record-wise, better than Ohio State's opposition makes sense to me. And the argument of, oh, well, they beat them really bad doesn't work for anybody else in this instance except for Ohio State. This team couldn't even get their Michigan game in, which, albeit Danny Thompson's conspiracy theories that Jim Harbaugh was going to save his job beating Ohio State this year, they're just getting handed that 4th spot out of entitlement. Am I wrong here, Bobby? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, you don't set rules for the season, albeit a crazy one in 2020. And when your big dog doesn't, it just falls short. Oh, we're gonna succumb to the pressure, and oh yeah, okay, you guys could be in it.
I mean, you've played 5 games, and the response that I've heard from college football minds that are out there, sometimes I respect them, sometimes I don't, saying that Ohio State didn't have a chance to improve throughout the season, like a Notre Dame or a Clemson or a Florida or a Texas A&M. Now, to make matters worse, the other scenarios out there involved, albeit being crazy and involving Alabama losing, Bobby, but if Alabama lost, let's say, to Florida, then Florida would have a spot. Well, apparently they weren't able to fit the shoe on that foot because of whatever reason with Florida blowing the game against LSU. So that leaves us Texas A&M, whose only impressive victory is Florida, now a team that's lost to LSU, and putting them in over a Cincinnati. Listen, it's a better argument than Ohio State, but tell me how is the Big Ten even impressive this year? That's the part I can't get to. Can somebody give me that? Where's Rodney? I mean, okay, well, granted, we're not talking about the ACC, but like, I need somebody out there to explain to me why I should be impressed with the Big Ten or even Ohio State. Where's all my homers at? Can someone give me a legitimate reason why I should be impressed by Ohio State? Bobby, I ain't got it. No, don't get it twisted. Justin Fields is going to go high in the draft.
One hard team they played, I believe, was Indiana. They beat them, but that was a lot closer than everybody thought was going to happen.
And moreover, why am I taking a basketball school that seriously? Like, I get it. As a program, they've been steadily improving, and I'll give them credit for being great, having arguably the best football season they've ever had as a program, possibly. I don't know enough about Indiana football history, but I know that they're looking good this year. And maybe if they didn't have to play Ohio State, maybe if that game was COVIDed out, they too could have been, still undefeated and in the conversation for a conference championship appearance. They would still have the conference championship to play and solve for it, right? I mean, as it stands, Indiana's 4-1, and they too have only played 5 games. So even still,
all right? Yeah, I'm a little unschooled in this as you are.
Sure.
So what is Northwestern's record? Because that seems to be the team they're playing in the championship game, correct?
That is who they currently have scheduled in the championship game. And they were looking to have an impressive year in their own right. Don't get it twisted. And then they had an oopsie against Michigan State, who's
lost to Rutgers, who lost.
You're getting it. Granted, it wasn't the kind of collapse that one might associate with Danny Thompson's Golden Gophers, but it was pretty rough. Northwestern at one point, and it's still good, could be a credible game. I'm not here to say that Northwestern is going to win, but they were surprising people. They're a team that every now and again they will shock you, but I'm not, say what you will, why I am critical of Ohio State's situation and what they had to do to be eligible for the conference championship. I have no illusions of the Northwestern Wildcats winning that football game. I'm not even assessing that.
So karma prevails and they win, Northwestern.
Well, funny you should mention that, Bobby, and thank you for setting the table oh so very nicely. If Ohio State should happen to lose that football game, and of course Cincinnati remains undefeated, they win their conference against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. There have actually been some crack-smoking individuals out there. At least I could only assume that they smoke crack. I don't know if they allow that sort of thing at Fox Sports or ESPN, but whatever. I'm not aware of their HR department's regulations. That people are actually floating USC coming out of the Pac-12. That's a thing they're talking about. Now, let's remind you, Bobby Blackjack.
Into the CFP?
Say again?
Into the college football playoff?
Yes, sir.
First of all, what's their record?
You're on my track right there, right? They too are a mere 5-0. And oh, by the way, they're not playing against the team that they would have been at one point.
Yeah, all right, let's replace somebody because I saw that today. I was like,
they had to replace the Washington Huskies with Oregon. Now, generally speaking, I find Oregon to be overrated. But when I say to you, the 3-2 Oregon Ducks are playing for a conference championship, something about that just sounds wrong, right?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, saying that the 3-1 Huskies could be playing for a conference championship isn't much better. But so why we're even entertaining the Pac-12 in that conversation is ridiculous. So people are doing everything they can. Listen, we already knew that the odds were stacked based on how UCF was treated. And no, I'm not saying that as a homer. Yeah, I graduated from the college, but I would not call myself a UCF fan. I'm just somebody who covers them. Hell, I picked them to lose the Auburn game in that 20. I guess it would have been technically 20. The year was 2018, but it's the 2017 season where they won that Peach Bowl. But this is ridiculous. People are that desperate to keep the group of 5 out of the playoff. Bobby, let me ask you this, and you might have heard me question Danny with this a week or two ago. If I'm the powers that be, and there really is a situation where you're trying to stop with the hype and all that of the G5 getting into the playoff, would it not be smarter to let them in this year? If they're not a threat, let them in and let Alabama, your guys at Notre Dame or Clemson, depending on who wins or loses that game, or even those 3 teams, any of those 3 teams, pound them senseless, and the talk will be over. Why don't we just do that? Why don't you solve the problem? Am I onto something there, Bobby?
Yeah, because like you said, there's always that conjecture that there's one or two teams get screwed every year, and they fall back to a mid tier or lower bowl, and get a chance to prove themselves. But yeah, you're right. This is the year they could have done that and killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, and then when there isn't a COVID year, they would have good reason to supplant them. Hey, listen, we let them back in the so-and-so, and you saw how they went. They don't have that. The mystery in and of itself is killing them.
This country's missing, and I think college football would be a good place to start. Not sure what your soccer acumen is, knowledge of pro soccer, but
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You have Power 5 schools, you have Group of 5 schools, right? Obviously there are some very bad Power 5 schools, and there are some very good Group of 5 schools. Well, if your team is that bad in the Power 5, maybe the next season they get relegated to the lower level, and then let 2, 3, 4 of the Group of 5 schools who are playing at a high level and have beaten, teams at the higher grouping play.
I think that's spot on.
That makes what? Why should Kansas every year just be there? Because they're in the Big Ten. They stink. Kansas.
I mean, well, at one point there was rumor or effort for the Big 12 to try to recruit UCF, but then that ended up falling short just simply because of too many contract issues with the conferences, and all that sort of rigmarole was standing in the way, long and short. So, I mean, that's what ended up stopping that. But I'll tell you what, Bobby, let's go ahead and do this. Let's wrap up the college football segment here.
All right.
By going through each of the conferences. I'll save yours for last because I know you want to talk about it the most. Like, I'm not going to talk about the MAC and the Mountain West. I'm not really all that worried about that. But let's see. First of all, let's start with, we talked about the Pac-12. Who cares? USC will probably win their game, but they could still blow it, and then that'll just be an even bigger embarrassment on this whole situation. But the Big 12, there we go. Okay. So the Big 12 is, sorry about that. This is the problem with live radio and doing three things at once. Okay, I was right. Good. The Big 12 is set to have Oklahoma somehow, who we've been making fun of throughout the year, play Iowa State, a team that got beat by, I believe, I want to say it was, it was the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana. Yeah, because that's what I want to see in a Big 12 conference championship. Am I right?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so there's that. If you don't want defense, watch this game. For me, I actually have Iowa State winning this game, and call it rising from the dead to win the conference and all that stuff if you'd like. They did lose to Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy and all that, who was somehow ranked 6th at the time, despite almost losing to Tulsa. But what do I know? They've got a pretty good, listen, at the end of the day, their quarterback situation's pretty good with Iowa State. I actually saw Brock Purdy play last year in a game I was covering. That would have been the last Camping World Bowl, or it's now the Cheez-It Bowl over here in Orlando. That, and I just don't have that much trust in anything Oklahoma does. So, at least they won't be hiding out and pretending to be a playoff-worthy team. I don't know. We'll leave it at that. Bobby, unless you have something to say about that particular game, we can move on. I mostly just brought it up to make fun of the Big 12.
Yep. Trounced by Notre Dame last year, so they didn't,
Yeah. I'll tell you what, and here's the thing. Notre Dame made the right plays at the right time. And it's not that Iowa State couldn't move the ball in that game against your Irish. It's just when it came time for them to do something big, Brian Kelly and his guys were like, oh, that was cute, and then just stopped it from happening.
Kind of like Carolina in their second half a few weeks ago.
That's not a horrible. I like what you did there. By the way, yeah, I don't even know what to make of that game, but it was still fun to watch, just because at some point Miami, God bless them, even with the Eric King, finds a way to render themselves useless. Lack of a better way to put it, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, let's see. So we talked about the Big Ten Conference Championship game and how much of a crime that is. I mean, Bobby, do you actually expect Alabama to lose in their conference championship?
Florida, right?
That's correct. I don't. I like what's going on there too. But go ahead.
I hate Alabama. I mean, I've said it before. When they lose, it's that's how much I hate Alabama. I just hate Nick Saban. I think the guys are. When he loses, I think it should be a national day of celebration. But
listen, I like Kyle Trask too. I think he should be the Heisman winner. I know he's not Trevor Lawrence. I know he's not as good as other quarterbacks out there, but he had more opportunities, fair or not, and he produced more often. That should be worth something. The games being played should matter more than the games that are conceived. And that's no offense to Justin Fields. It's no offense to Trevor Lawrence. It's no offense to I forget the kid's name, but the one in North Dakota, who I think is slightly overrated, but he's still an NFL prospect that should do at least all right. It's no offense to any of those guys. Heck, even your dude Ian Book, I'd still pick Trask over him for the Heisman. So, but let's get to it, man. The conference championship game everybody wants to see is the rematch of Clemson and Notre Dame, right? I mean, Trevor Lawrence is allegedly going to be back for this game, at least as of today. The Irish, listen, as critical as I have been of them in the past, are a group that They did what they were supposed to do to get to this game, and they're here. I appreciate that the 1 year they're going to be mercenaries and join a conference. They make that conference in question look incredibly bad in the process, so I love that. But we were talking earlier about, or before the show started, about your Irish at the moment being down a touchdown in the spread. Does that make sense to you?
I mean, yeah, because let me double check that myself while we're talking. Yeah, because the media hype machine is pro Clemson, pro Trevor Lawrence, and we'll get some modicum of respect for winning the first game, but we're still going to be that Trevor Lawrence didn't play. You won, yay, but they didn't play. Okay, so let's see what happens this week. That being said, the hype machine is still on the Clemson side, and probably will be, until Notre Dame hopefully wins this game again and put some hush hush on that talk.
You gotta love the world of the Notre Dame fan, where the college football team.
Hold on, Kyle. CBS has Notre Dame 10.5-point underdogs.
Good God, that's terrible.
Good. That is fodder right there. That's locker room fodder.
You're not wrong, but you gotta love. There's some things about 2020, Bobby, where only the mind of the Notre Dame fan, a team that has a independent and unique contract with NBC worth many, many, many dollars, talking about the media hype machine being against them. But hey, there you go. I'm not here to say that you're wrong. There's just a number. I had to point out the irony. Listen, I've given your team entirely too many props tonight, and I had to make a joke at your expense. I apologize. But at this point, it's to pick this, I would favor Clemson. I would. But what I wouldn't do is by a touchdown or more. You want to give me 4 points? Sure. 5 points? Okay. You're going full touchdown. That's a bit too much. I can't get on that. But I mean,
you're going touchdown field goal. Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, I'll put it. Yeah. The 10 points is asinine, but I've come to expect that from CBS. But I'll put it this way. I would pick Clemson only because I have that much faith in Trevor Lawrence. But that is not to dismiss your guy Ian Book. I don't think he's the best pro prospect, but he definitely has made plays for Notre Dame. Hell, I was at the Citrus Bowl where they put him in the second half to beat LSU in horrible weather and make arguably the best pass thrown in the game, and thus ending the college football career for all intents and purposes of Brandon Wimbush. So there you go.
Jersey boy.
So yeah, we went over all that college football scenario.
I'm not sure if I mentioned last week on this show or Viva Los Bills when they asked, but this is my take on Notre Dame. They were bullied by Alabama a few years ago. I have all the paraphernalia on my wall.
They never should have been in that game. Never should have been in that game.
All right. They were bullied by Clemson a couple years ago. But you know what? They took those lessons and they put the speed and the speed players on defense where they need to be. So it's kind of like you get bullied once or twice, third time, fourth time around, you're going to learn. All right. I think this is the year that Brian Kelly put all the pieces together on defense and offense to, shock the world. All right. All right. First time around. Okay. Lawrence didn't play, yada, yada, yada. This time around, we'll just, there's going to be a change of game plan and a change of, change of tactics, so to speak. And, it's going to be a dynamic chess match playing on a football field on Saturday.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what you would expect.
The question I have for you, Kyle, would be, all right, Notre Dame loses this game close. Are they still a top 4 team in the playoffs?
Well, absolutely they are. Absolutely are. That's exactly what's going to happen too, right? Because Then
Florida lost.
Yeah, exactly. Florida lost, which hurts A&M as well.
It's A&M, right? They lost again? They lost?
No, they didn't lose, but it hurts A&M's resume. Now, granted, they may still get let in, but that's a whole other question. For me, I don't like it, Bobby, but I think it'll happen, right? Because let's assume Alabama wins, right? Then Clemson wins. You obviously have your 1 and 2, right? Then who would be your 3, right? Are you going to sneak Ohio State in? Okay. And then, or do you let Notre Dame in as the 3? Because they played the requisite number of games, and the only team they lost to was now the number 2 team in the country with Trevor Lawrence. Right?
Well, they beat already once.
Right. Who they also got a shot at to beat already. Like, again, that is the definition of a quality loss, right?
So I guess in my rationale, I got to hope Alabama wins so that because all of a sudden Florida wins. Confusion at the top.
True. Well, and if Florida wins, that would be interesting. Oh, shoot. Think about that. If Florida, oh my God, if Florida wins, do we have 2 SEC teams and 2 ACC teams and everyone else gets screwed?
And again, with the Big Ten starting so late, rightfully so, right?
I mean, yeah, that part's on them. And like people are like, it's not their fault. Yeah, but you're in that conference, dude. You know, I'm not saying it's right, you know, but you can't penalize. The games have to matter, Bobby, and you can't penalize the kids who did play and stayed healthy and got on the field and took the risk. You know, that to me is just senseless. So anyways, let's put the soapbox aside, my man. Let's go ahead and get started with the NFL. Let's do that.
All right.
So first of all, somebody here on this show who may or may not be me, it's not, said something about the praises of Russell Carrington Wilson being sung tonight. Sir, no. Okay, he beat the Jets. I'm not somebody trying to make an unreasonable argument on this show. That's Danny Thompson's role. As the host, he can get away with that. The question I want to ask is, can we once and for all define an MVP? Can we do that? Right? Because this is week in and week out the issue I have. And maybe I can speak to you, Bobby. Maybe you can be a clearer mind as somebody who does something else but go, well, the numbers say, or say, well, how many interceptions did he have in a single week? Oh, by the way, Patrick Mahomes, 3 interceptions this week and a 30-yard sack. Anyways, now keep in mind, man, I'm not slamming Patrick Mahomes. You know better than that. But here's what I know. And this past weekend proved it. Last week, Bobby, did we all or did we all not declare that the Miami Dolphins are going to make the playoffs this season? Right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Right now they are. Yeah.
Well, right now they are. I think they're going to go the distance. I really do. Their schedule might be a little tougher than you think. I'm sorry. They're going to beat the Patriots in the second game. They always seem to do that late in the year. Then I think they can beat the Buffalo Bills. I think that can happen. They've seen them. Brian Flores is a good enough team to compete the second time around. I think that's going to happen. I think they can beat the Raiders. I mean, hell, didn't we just saw what happened this past weekend with the Colts taking care of business against Las Vegas, right? Hey, I remember to call them Vegas. So the reason why I go all that trouble to say that, Bobby, is to establish that the Dolphins are a solid football team, right? We're in agreement there.
Yep.
So if you're a team that doesn't have a great roster necessarily to cover multiple facets on the field, if you suffered 3 turnovers at the hand of your quarterback, and for all intents and purposes, a 4th one in the form of a 30-yard sack, you're going to lose the football game most of the time, aren't you?
Yep.
But the Chiefs didn't lose the game. Matter of fact, Bobby Blackjack, the Dolphins were down pretty significant and caught up to make it close again. At one point, the Chiefs were down 10-0, and Not to say that Patrick Mahomes didn't have moments where he went all Patrick Mahomes on cats, but let's be honest. What blew that game wide open was Tyreek Hill and good defense by the Kansas City Chiefs. The reason why Patrick Lavon Mahomes II, or are we calling him Junior? I don't know. I'm calling him Junior. The reason why Pat Jr., Mahomes Pat Jr., isn't the MVP is I could have put Matt Moore in. He wouldn't have necessarily committed 3 turnovers, and they would still possibly beat the Miami Dolphins. Instead, Patty Jr. went out, had all those blunders, and they still won the football game. Meanwhile, if Russell Wilson does that, not to say that he does every week like Danny Thompson would have you believe, they're not winning that football game because he has to do it all himself. The weapons, when I have more weapons than can be found in Iraq's land army arsenal, that is not value. You are managing a game at that point. No, I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes is a game manager. That's not the style of quarterback he is. But to me, an MVP is more than just numbers. So if you're somebody that thinks that Pat Mahomes is the MVP, you do that. But you're not doing it for the right reasons. That's all I'm submitting here.
Well, was it last year or the year before? I think it was last year where Mahomes got hurt for 3 games, right?
He did, yes.
And was it Daniels that came in? Chase Daniels was the backup then?
It was him or Matt Moore. I forget which.
Either one came in, and that quarterback won. Right? He won, right? And I think they had 3 wins, but they won two of the 3 games they had to win. They won.
They survived Patrick Mahomes with a winning record, and moreover, going into that game before he got hurt, or actually while he was coming back even, Mahomes struggled. Now, I'm not here to tell you that Patrick Mahomes is struggling this year. Hell, I can even make an argument. How do you not refer to a man with a $500 million contract as the most valuable? Well, that's a fair question. And I'm not here to say he shouldn't be in the conversation. But if you're doing it based on Pat Mahomes' numbers, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, think about it when it comes to other sports. It's got to be a player that's indispensable. Yes, Mahomes is indispensable over the course of a year. Any star quarterback is, unless you're Jeff Hostetler. But,
well, I mean, hell, one would say that Drew Brees is the most valuable Saint on offense last year.
All right.
And then he missed how many for Teddy Bridgewater to look good, right?
Don't get me started with Taysom Hill because I'm hating the guy right now because he's killing my team.
Oh, no. I'm not even talking about this year. I'm talking about last year when Teddy Bridgewater came in, Ponda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not that I'm blaming you with Taysom Hill there, but.
No, but I seriously think that Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, Pete Carroll and the Seahawks do not win 3 to 4 games if Russell Wilson's out.
Sure.
That's the definition of MVP.
Which, by the way, I'm glad you brought up Pete Carroll because that's another thing that Patrick Mahomes gets to enjoy. Andy Flippin' Reid is his coach. Listen. Anybody who tries to hint that today Andy Reid isn't a Hall of Fame coach is a blithering moron, okay? Leave out the part. No, not even leave it out. Okay, so fine. He didn't win a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. Do y'all really think that was his fault? I'm not trying to throw shade at Donovan McNabb necessarily, but that ragtag group was insane. There was drama everywhere. Freddie Mitchell became a celebrity. Fred X. Right? Remember that phenomena? He got them to the NFC Championship game multiple times. They either lost to a Buck team that went on to the win of the Super Bowl or lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl or something like that. I'm not putting that on Andy Reid. And so what does he do? He revives Alex Smith's career, fools everybody by bringing in Patrick Mahomes, and wins a Super Bowl. And oh, by the way, should have been to back-to-back Super Bowls, by the way, if if there's not an unfortunate offsides call that keeps Tom Brady alive in overtime, or late in the fourth quarter, I should say. We won't even talk about that. Because if he went to back-to-back Super Bowls, would anybody say anything this stupid that Andy Reid isn't a Hall of Famer? Anyways, Pete Carroll, I don't know that Pete Carroll's a Hall of Fame coach in his own right. Certainly not first ballot.
Could have been if he gave the ball to Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, actually, that's true. If he didn't make the worst play call in Super Bowl history, maybe he would be. That's a great point, Bobby. That's a great point. I don't know. Anyways, by the way, I that was a good way to talk about both those teams because, listen, I want Miami fans to get their props. They've been forced to wait for quite a bit. And listen, I'll be honest, when I was writing up Coach Brian Flores' arrival with the Dolphins wire last season, I thought he was capable of this sort of thing. So I want to get that out there. Anyways, so going through my notes here, something else ridiculous I keep hearing about.
What's that?
Do you really think – I'll put it this way. And now, Bobby, I know at this point that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not going to have the record that I predicted, right? And even when I picked it, I'm like, that's a little amazing. That's a little high. But okay. There's no possible way that they're going to get to 12-4. It's literally mathematically impossible at this point. But living in a world where Jalen Hurts is coming out and beating the Saints. Now, granted, I know Taysom Hill whipped your butt in fantasy, but that's really all he's really good for. I'm sorry.
Well, no, he's hurting Kamara.
Alvin Kamara, true. Also true. That's a very good point. By the way, Alvin Kamara, arguably a better MVP candidate than Patrick Mahomes, as is Dalvin Cook.
Real quick, let's stick with this 1 second, the Saints.
Sure.
Do you think Taysom Hill showed enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL next year? I still say he's more of a gimmick because he can't throw the ball.
I'll put it this way. If people still sat Tim Tebow after he won a playoff game, I don't see how you can justify continuing to play Taysom Hill. I think he's a great backup. I think he's somebody like I think he's definitely ideal to put on a roster behind, let's say, a Lamar Jackson or behind a Russell Wilson or behind a Kyler Murray, even somebody with mobility where that's I'm not going to say their primary weapon, but it's a larger part of their arsenal than a lot of the other quarterbacks in the league. Yeah, there's more quarterbacks that are mobile than ever before, and that's the trend moving forward. So to that extent, Taysom Hill is a thing. He's more of an asset than a lot of quarterbacks. Like, for example, I don't know that I would pick him over Jacoby Brissett, who's currently backing up Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis, right? I don't know that I would take Taysom Hill over Ryan Tannehill. Damn sure wouldn't take him over Ryan Tannehill. Now, would Tennessee be wise to sign him as Tannehill's backup? Absolutely, right? But beyond that, I don't think he is today a credible starter in the NFL. I just don't. I don't take him seriously.
I agree with you, and I'm not much surprised that Sean Payton started him over Winston because Winston came in for that second half of that game. He don't look too bad.
I'm with you on that. Here's the reason why I think it happened that way is, for one, there was some really weak teams on that stretch of schedule, right? Like Taysom Hill doesn't have a win that makes you go, yeah, that's how it should be done, right? Like he's not beating the Buccaneers 31-3 or whatever it was that they beat the Bucs by, right? You know, the Saints came out and they obviously they lost to the Eagles here, right? But who has Taysom Hill beaten? The Falcons and the Broncos. Not exactly impressive, right? But one thing you got to give.
He lost to the Eagles, and you know what? I'm so surprised that he didn't make a switch yesterday. That team was flat the whole first half.
Well, and that's so. Let me get to what my grand conspiracy theory is. Right. One way to lose a game for sure is to turn the ball over a lot. Taysom Hill hasn't done that. Say what you will about Taysom Hill, the game manager. He has not turned the ball over like Jameis Winston, the gunslinger. He just hasn't, right? Now, for me, if Drew Brees is not ready to host the Chiefs next week, which who's currently on the docket, oh, by the way, and I believe that's a Thursday night game? No, it's not. Never mind. I can't do math. It's a Monday night game. If I would have to choose between Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston, I would choose Winston against the Chiefs. Because running the ball and being conservative, I don't think the Saints have the defense to stop Patrick Mahomes like that. Now, granted, I can see the argument, and I've even made it, about keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field is the best way to stop the Chiefs sometime. But I'm not here to tell you that I think Taysom Hill and that Saints defense is the team that can do it that way. I'll put it that way. So, but other than the Chiefs, they got a really weak schedule to conclude the season, right? You know who else had a weak schedule to conclude the season last year? The Bucs. And Jameis Winston still stopped them from making the playoffs by throwing the ball away. That's why they started Taysom Hill ahead of it. Turnovers are that risky. And if Sean Payton can't take a risk on you, that should tell you everything you need to know. This is a guy that called for a damn onside kick in a Super Bowl that ended up making the difference. So I think that answers your question.
Yep.
So I like that topic that I was going to bring up. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next game there. So anyways, I still think the Bucs are not in as good a situation as they are now with only 5 losses if Winston's still at the helm. I just don't see it.
Now, I think the Bucs are a perfect situation that I call New York Yankee ball. Because like the Yankees for years were so good that, they kind of sleepwalk a little bit during the regular season. But as soon as those playoff lights come on, they put it all together. And I think Tom Brady's been there a million times. Yeah, maybe his teammates haven't. But you know what? He's the leader. He's the face of that team right now. And, they're playing. They're winning 2. They lose 2. They win 2. They win, whatever. Very up and down season so far. But yet they're still in the playoff situation. And once those lights come on in a month, I think all bets are off, and we'll see. You're going to see the real Tom Brady.
I mean, do you really believe that the Bucs won't make the playoffs right now? I don't.
No, it would. Right now, I think they're going to make it. They're going to find a way to make it, and all right, they're not going to win their division. Hey, how many teams have won Super Bowls from the wild card spot? A lot of teams. So as long as they're in it.
More than you'd think is the way I would respond to that. Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's not a bad point at all, my man. I like where you're going there. And for what else it's worth too, I think another good analogy in that case, not that I'm trying to be a Tom Brady apologist necessarily. Hell, I'm oft critical of him. I do not think he's the greatest player of all time. But what I will say is that he is learning still, kind of like LeBron was his first year in Miami before they went on the one and went on that run and won those championships, right? Miami and LeBron needed a year to get together. I think Brady with Bruce Arians is running a way different offense than he ever has at a single moment in the National Football League. And the only way it would have been close at any point was back when he had that that group that was one game away from a perfect season, right? With Randy Moss, Wes Welker, the awesome running backs, the really good defense featuring Asante Samuel at corner and a lot in that great defensive line. That's the last time he's had anything close to what he's running as far as being able to sling the ball down the field and, just chuck it and pray and know somebody will be on the other end because it's Hall of Famer Randy Moss, right? Anyways, so yeah, there's that. By the way, so speaking of teams who I've definitely missed predicting their record for, the Arizona Cardinals are officially not able to get to 11-5. It was true since last week where they somehow managed to blow that game. I'm still trying to figure out how on earth the Cardinals blew the game last week, but that's okay. They did manage to beat the Giants, who a lot of people thought were going to win this football game and were going to the playoffs. That's not going to happen. Oh, by the way, WTF, the Washington football team, the Red Tail, is currently leading the NFC East as in a game where former 49er Alex Smith starts. He didn't stay the whole game, but Chase Young would basically dominate the 49ers and they would win the football game. So listen, keep praying. It's possible. 14, 15, 16, 17. Yes, pray that the Washington football team wins out. There could still be a 10-win team coming out of the NFC least. One can only hope, right?
Well, I think as far as the Giants is concerned, I put this one squarely on Joe Judge, the head coach, because there's no way Daniel Jones. All right, you want to give him the start because he feels better. Wonderful, but you knew after maybe the first half that he did not have it. He did not have it. He didn't look like he had it. He again with the dropsies and the oopsies and the jambalaya. All right, you want to win this game. You want to maintain your lead in this NFC East division. Put Colt McCoy in. He's still your better chance of winning that game. As bad, he didn't have it. His passes weren't crisp. He was running for his life.
I hear you, but you even cringed yourself after you said put Colt McCoy in the game. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
sometimes you got to play the hot hand. He did beat Seattle.
Yeah, that still weirds me out too in its own right. And I'll give the Giants defense credit. There were some times the Cardinals rolled the dice and they were forced to get sent off the field.
Well, it's not only that, Kyle. It was first quarter, muff punt, fumble here, strip sack there, the balls on the carpet. The Giants gave them so many points. And, obviously, not only am I watching that game as a Giant fan and someone who covers the team, again, this is fantasy football weekend. I was going against Kyler Murray. And I was just watching all the opportunities that the Giants were giving the Cardinals with some tremendous field position.
Yeah.
Errors and stuff like that.
And the defense was still holding at times too. They said they went for it on 4th and 1 the goal line and stopped them, Not to say that there weren't opportunities given. I think you're absolutely right. But still somehow the defense found a way too, Anyways, last thing I wanted to cover here is because does anybody really care about the Texans and the Bears? Because I don't. No. So Sunday night game. Now, granted, tonight's game's a big deal with the Ravens and the Browns. Now, the Ravens have basically been COVIDed out of the playoffs, but still have a chance to fight back in, and tonight's game will be a big deal towards that. But the Steelers facing off against the Bills last night. And the Bills won. It was impressive. I figured the game would be close. What I didn't account for was how many mistakes Ben Roethlisberger would make. But listen, credit to the Bills. This could be one of the best receivers records they've had since Jim Kelly days, that 4 straight AFC group. And no, I'm not just saying that because of Gabe Davis. I'm saying that because Stephon Diggs, I still maintain, and I predicted it in the offseason. is the MVP of this offense and has literally opened everything up. Cole Beasley is playing out of his mind as well, doing a lot of good things. Devin Singletary is doing good in run support. Josh Allen is looking better than he ever has, and I don't think that's because of him. And oh, by the way, this is with John Brown injured, for goodness sake, right? But the Steelers, once again, have an effort where they open up, they're dominating early, and they take, I don't want to say they took their foot off the gas, but they start making mistakes. Ben Roethlisberger threw basically 2 balls that were just nonchalant moments that decided the football game, I could argue. And the Bills are not the Tennessee Titans. They won't fall just short. They'll actually fight you for a game, which is why I want to see that Bills-Dolphins game later in the year. I think it's 2 weeks away. But
real quick, here's the problem with the Steelers right now. You know, I'm a Steelers fan.
Following Chase Claypool, yes.
They are tired. They've been screwed around twice by the NFL because of the COVID and having to take a real early bye week. Okay, and then, you know, when they probably should have postponed that Ravens game to the mythical week 18 or something. No, you had a week and a half off to rest. No, you're going to play on Tuesday or Wednesday, wherever that game was. They played what?
Wednesday,
3 games?
Yeah.
They played 3 games in 12 days or something like that?
No, that's rough. And by the way, you mentioned fatigue. You beat me to it, Bobby. Isn't Ben Roethlisberger fresh off of a really bad injury last year? And now he's late in the season. You wonder if he, kind of like a Drew Brees, is starting to feel the effects. Maybe these balls weren't nonchalant. Maybe this is something that maybe these are passes week 1 Ben Roethlisberger completes. It's a good point.
And Johnson's dropping everything that's thrown to him. So that's not helping either.
So, anyways, I think that'll do it. It's time for the fun one. It's time for the thing where Danny Thompson takes great pleasure in catching me off guard. Almost as much as he catches me off guard for whatever bad argument he has for MVP. That's Mount Rushmore, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we've gone with food a lot. We've gone with TV shows. I think we did last week? Christmas songs. I want to keep the spirit of the season. And I know we've done Christmas movies too. I'm not even going to bring that up. But for me, there's certain symbols, whether they're sung about in a carol or there's something you put on your wall or on a door or in your house or outside, symbols of Christmas. Bobby Blackjack, I want your Mount Rushmore of Christmas symbology, whether it's something that you bake a cake into a shape of or something that you put on your door or something that comes with a light. What is your favorite symbol of Christmas? Now, you know, let's not try to make it too eclectic. Like if, you know, you have your Deadpool tree topper that you think is fun, cool. That's not necessarily a universal symbol. You know what I'm saying? Actually, now that you mention it, the Deadpool tree topper is pretty funny. But Mount Rushmore of Christmas symbology.
Give me 1 second here and get this all loaded up for you.
Yeah, he's doing the artillery thing right now. This is something that normally I'm making jokes and rattling off stuff.
All right.
Bam. All right.
I'll start with first thing that gets me excited for the holidays and for Christmas are the lights on the houses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially now, you know, I'm not going to mention it on the air right now, but I have a very strong reason why Christmas is hard for me. I'm not going to mention it now, but when I drive around now and I see the lights on the houses, it's a good pick me up. Mm-hmm. So I'll say lights on the houses is number 1. Number 2 would be the aforementioned holiday movies that kind of pop up all of a sudden, and you start seeing the commercials for them. No, I'm talking about the Lifetime love Christmas marathons that make it
Is there a Lifetime movie that's actually called I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus? I'm just asking.
I'm surprised there isn't. And you know what? I would love to see a male-centric station do that, where mommy gets divorced by daddy because she kissed Santa Claus.
Oh boy. And now little Jimmy has a.
You know, these days everybody's so litigious. So,
I mean,
the movies, the commercials of holiday movies that, you know, heck, this year is so weird that it's hard to fathom. It's 10 days from Christmas Eve, but
seriously,
all right, the lights in the houses, the commercials for the movies you start seeing, and, you know, obviously watching the movies. I would say the third symbol would be, for me, again, I drive around a lot. The Christmas songs on the radio.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know about down by you, but up by me, they start coming on like even before Thanksgiving. The one station has Christmas songs.
Three stations in my local area.
One.
The day after Christmas, the day after Thanksgiving, I got 3 stations going with Christmas music, and at least one of them this year started before Thanksgiving, I believe.
Wow,
it's insane.
And I would say the last symbol, and I'm going to feel that, unfortunately, on Wednesday is we have a major snowstorm coming, and it'll fall down. And, you know, I always said Christmas is awesome. I mean, snow is awesome up until Christmas. After that, it can go to hell. But that's a nice feel for the holidays and makes it feel Christmassy. But, you know, anything after that could just, you know, go away. Yeah, hey, we're about to get nailed on Wednesday, so I'm not too happy. But I'll be sitting here in my basement studio, churning out stuff and trying to make the most of it, I guess.
Hey, man, listen, I know it might get all the way down to the 40s here in Florida. I'll be really... Anyways, I'm terrible.
Ouch.
Hey, listen, Bing Crosby skipped my part of the country when it came to the White Christmas, and I'm okay with it. So listen, you mentioned a lot of good stuff there. You more kind of kept it kind of general, kind of realistic. So let me open the door to a bit more of the lore, the fictitious part of the world. First of all, listen, guys, you want to know who the one person in the 80s that was the most recognizable character in the United States? Ronald McDonald. But you know who was second? Santa Claus. Dude, it is not Christmas until my dude in the big red suit and the cool hat, a long white beard, starts talking about bringing presents to the people. And oh, by the way, side note, I haven't seen the second one yet, but the Netflix Christmas Chronicles, better movie than it should be. I'm going to throw that out there. It's better than it should be. By the way, Tim Allen and the Santa Claus. Booyah. All right? I said it. 2 separate movies alone involving Santa Claus, and it's a good time all the way around. And listen, I mean, I've never seen a guy that you can divert more blame to, and it's okay. Mommy, I want this toy. Well, we'll see what Santa says. You know, it's great. Anyways, step 2 for me, I like how you mentioned the lights. That was a good touch. Definitely an honorable mention. For me, though I don't always keep one in the house, I think one of the things that you put lights on is certainly a symbology. We have one in the house all the time now because we got an artificial one. Of course, I'm referring to a Christmas tree. Listen, some of the worst Christmas music out there involves some of the most garbage renditions of the song, Oh Christmas Tree. But nonetheless, where do you find the gifts? Where do you gather? It is the midpoint. It is the table to a dinner meal. It is the field to a football game. It is the court to the malice of the okay, we don't have to make it about that, but at the end of the day, it all starts and ends around the Christmas tree, typically speaking. Hell, at the very least, you got a little mini tree that you put up somewhere to decorate with, and to Bobby's point, you get the lights there too. And granted, let's not act like I haven't taken the kids in the car just to drive around the neighborhood to check out some of the lights. There's some real crazies that are doing the keeping up in the Jones thing. You know what it does for me? Keeps me from having to take my fat ass up on the roof and trying to do it. Anyways, hey, listen, Bobby, I just got that beast redid. I don't need to be throwing through that shite. Anyways, this year more than any other, and props to my 6-year-old's first grade teacher for doing it. This year in particular, I mentioned Santa, but his means of conveyance is very important this time of year. No, I don't mean the sleigh. I mean the hard workers that are pulling it. Reindeer, fool. When else do you even even talk about reindeer other than during Christmas. And listen, you want to talk about things with that many horns, that has that many horns, can fly, and in some cases has a red nose. You do that any other time of the year, you're just a drunk person. Now you're saving the day for Santa. Woo! Yeah.
Well, here's the problem with reindeer, Kyle, is have you seen I'm sure you have. Have you seen a live reindeer, or know what a reindeer looks like?
I do.
It's nothing like the ones you see on Rudolph.
Not at all.
Those are regular deers.
Those are caribou, and that's okay. That's why during Christmas, listen, that's their party, man. Come on. How often, there's no other time of year that turkey and pumpkin gets hype than October and November, okay? And reindeer don't get any more hype than during the Christmas season. Hell, they even headline movie films and some of the most immortal Christmas cartoons. Hell, wasn't it just last week, me and Danny Thompson both, you as well, put Rudolph in the Mount Rushmore for Christmas cartoons? Or was that 2 weeks ago? I don't remember, but we did it. So, anyway, that's one of the reasons I have reindeer, not to mention my daughter has a whole butt ton of Christmas pictures featuring reindeer because of what they're doing in school. And it's given me the opportunity to be like, whoa, she's coloring and staying in the line. So for me, there's that. Awesome. Last and certainly not least, it's the food, man. Bottom line, it's the food. But Cal, they don't even have a universal symbol. Yeah, they do. Name me another time of year that people can drink eggnog and not be judged. Oh, I'll wait. Exactly. What other time of year can I eat pumpkin roll and not be judged for?
Whoa. Pumpkin roll.
Oh, listen. My mom will throw a pumpkin roll down. Listen, I'm just saying. You don't even know. Bobby Blackjack, listen, when I can travel and I'm up there, if it's the holiday season, I can take pumpkin rolls through security, my dude. Okay? Let's be clear about that.
You know what? You're right. I took my mom to BJ's a few months ago, and they had pumpkin rolls sitting there. And, you know, I'm up and down with this, trying to do this diet thing, and I finally found one I like. I was like, you know what? I'm about to start this. I didn't buy it, but now I'm thinking I should have.
Hey,
it looked amazing.
I don't mean to give you a hard time, Bobby. We tight, but I'm going to tell you, that's a rookie mistake. You never start a diet during the holiday. What's wrong with you?
Well, this is like way before Thanksgiving. It was like around Halloween. So
no. You wait till the new year at that point, because you got Halloween with all the candy, you got Thanksgiving with all the feasting, you got Christmas. You're screwed.
But I did buy, though, it was more diet, but definitely delicious. Was almond? It was the almond milk eggnog, which I'm telling you, less calories, not bad at all.
I give that a shot. I like almond milk on my cereal. I'd give that a shot. And then I'm
okay. Almond milk and cereal. All right. So when I do drink almond milk, it's usually vanilla unsweetened. Now, here's the one thing you don't do with vanilla unsweetened almond milk. Put it on something bland like Cheerios. It is the death on it. There's no taste to anything, and then it just clamps up in your throat, and it's like it's not real milk, so there's no taste to the milk, so it's just combining with the nothingness of Cheerios.
I mean, at least make it Honey Nut, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The unsweetened vanilla almond milk has to be paired with a flavorful cereal. Otherwise, you're just drinking cement mix.
Might as well just get grape nuts and be done with it, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No, anyways, so with all that in mind, listen, man, Bobby, excellent show tonight. I know we're a bit early, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. It's amazing. What's that?
No worries. By the way, real quick, next week I already have a topic for next week's Mount Rushmore, so I'll do next week's.
Okay, no, I'll go on the hot seat for you. I'm not, listen, unlike Danny Thompson, I am not above the law. I'll take my hits. And
the week after Christmas, we got to do something really manly and cool, like Mount Rushmore of sports cars or something that he's going to miss, but he's not here.
Well, I mean, I hope you don't do sports cars because I'm not a car guy at all. You will make me
manly that you and I will do that. He'll feel like he missed out on. Playfully missed out on, obviously.
I mean, he's already missed out on knowing how to select who the MVP is. So, I mean, how much do we need to, he's a Falcons fan. He's already missed out on a successful NFL season. I mean, how much do you want to torture this guy? I'm awful, ladies and gentlemen.
Danny, we'll next week, though, for about 15, 20 minutes to do his NBA preview before the season starts. So.
Cool. And actually, if he has time too, next week we'll have him back. The week after we can get him, we'll probably try to do Hunter again too. So listen, show was definitely fun tonight. What can I tell you, Danny? Danny, what can I tell you, Bobby? What can I tell you both? What can I tell you, Precious, if you're still watching? Like the next week is going to be a big college football thing going on. The NFL is going to do that. We'll probably focus a lot more on the playoff picture for that week. And actually, you know what? Since we do have a little time, Bobby, here's a game I'm going to play with you. I'm going to go down the playoff list for the NFL, and you're going to tell me if you're confident that they'll still be in that spot. All I'm doing is looking through 1 through 7, and you can tell me if you're confident. I'm going to start with the NFC, if you're ready.
All right.
Okay. First of all, top of the list, the Green Bay Packers currently top in the NFC top seed. Do you think they will stay in the top seed of the NFC? And
I would say no, only because of they haven't been their usual dominant self. I mean, look, they let the Lions stay almost till the end. They let the Bears a few weeks ago. There wasn't, I think there's some deficiencies on defense there, and that right there I think is going to be an issue. I think someone with a little better defense, like a New Orleans Saints, would eventually pass them up if if they had to, or beat them in the playoffs. They're playing wonderfully on offense. I don't know. They're letting teams hang around too much.
Well, and what is it they say about defense? It's that it wins championships, right? I mean, hey, that's 101 right there, partner. Yep. Okay. And with that in mind, the New Orleans Saints, number 2 spot in the NFC. What do you think?
I'm not looking at the last 3 games of the series. 3 games, right? Left.
I happen to have it pulled up because, yay. I did mention the Chiefs next week, and then they finished with the Vikings and the Panthers.
Chiefs, Vikings, Panthers. So I would say at worst, oh my God.
I mean, is there any reason to believe that they're not 12-4 to finish the season?
And right now they're 10-3, right?
That's right.
Yeah, 12-4. I see a 12-4 finish. I don't think they have enough to beat the Chiefs right now, but the other 2 teams they should.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Real quick, I'm watching this game for my my team. How big is Baker Mayfield? He gets a lot of passes slotted down.
Baker Mayfield is not a tall man. I don't even think he's 6 foot. I think he's 5'11". He's either that or right at 6 foot. He's not a very big guy.
Yeah, because unfortunately he's right now screwing me, so I'm not gonna leave it at that. But so I see the Saints eventually ending with the number 1 seed.
Okay, fair enough. So if you see the Saints with the number 1 seed, it's not difficult for you to take the Rams at 9-4 and number 3. Do you think they might pass the Packers? And I say that just as I'm jumping to their schedule as quickly as I can here. But right now they're 9-4. And honestly, I mentioned that because right now what's really killing them isn't necessarily anything they did this week, because they did beat the Pats. I believe that was Thursday night. But the game that really killed them was losing to the 49ers 2 weeks ago. If they had that, they too would have that magical 10-3 mark. But their last 3 games are somewhat tough. After a break against the Jets next Sunday, they have the Seahawks and the Cardinals. So, yeah.
I think the Rams will end up becoming a very dangerous playoff team. The problem is they're not very consistent on offense. Defense is phenomenal. We know that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Again, I tend to go back to fantasy football a lot but for me, it's not that I'm saying fantasy and reality, but I watch these games because I have players on these teams, and I have Robert Woods on my team, so I watch the Rams a lot, especially if I'm watching a game of the night, if they play a Sunday night game or something. Rams are, I believe, playoff bound, but consistency is not there, especially on offense. Goff he went from a year where he had 4,000 something passing yards, right, 2 years ago, to a game manager in a season and a half.
Well, he also had a lot different support staff too. Now, granted, not to say that Devery Henderson isn't an awesome running back, but that game was run centric with Tom Gurley, and then Goff would open it up with play action. So I think Goff has been a bit oversold. I think you're right about that. Perhaps his weapons aren't as good as they were, but that team got to the Super Bowl on defense and on the running game. Let's not act like Goff was a central point of that. I think he's more kind of along for the ride, but you're not wrong. And there's nothing wrong with being a game manager. So I'm not even going to ask about this. I will. Washington football team, do they hold as the 4th seed? Basically, we're asking if you think they're going to win the division for the NFC least.
I think it goes down to the final week. I believe the final week, if you can tell me this, you have it in front of you. I think the final week of the season is Giants, Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, right? WFT.
Yeah, so they the Washington football team finishes up with the Seahawks, the Panthers, and the Eagles. So that Eagles game could depending on how things go, could be a play-in, right?
Yep.
So yeah, because if the Giants are playing the Cowboys, that one could argue that's an easier path. We'll see. So, anyways,
I think the Giants who's the Giants? Who's the middle game for the Giants?
The middle game for the last 3 for the Giants, that's going to be the Browns, Ravens, and Cowboys. So that's not a simple path either.
Oh. Well, yeah, it's not. Yeah, I think they had the hardest path. But that being said, I would think the Giants' whole season comes down to this Sunday night against the Browns, who we're watching now. A Browns team this Browns team is not impressive. How they're 9-3, I have no idea. I mean,
his name is Nick Chubb. That's how.
But by the way, again, I told you about my situation. So Baker Mayfield finally throws a touchdown, right? But he throws it to Rashard Higgins, the guy I'm going against.
Awesome.
That was a big wash, a big nothing for me.
Well, let's go next down the list to keep it on the intriguing part of the world. The Seattle Seahawks, 9 wins, just like the Los Angeles Rams. The reason why they lead the division is simply because the Rams currently lead the head-to-head. They've beaten the Seahawks already early in the year, if memory serves. So currently, the Rams lead the series, but the Seahawks will finish with one of their Rams games, as I mentioned. And then they also will have I think they have the Cardinals. No, they have they finish with the 49ers in week 17, which isn't a give me. So the Seahawks have.
Right? This week's Washington.
The coming week is the Red Tails, correct? So it's Red Tails, Rams, Niners. Not necessarily a give me in and of itself, but it's possible that they could. Well, if they win one, they have 10 wins. They're probably going to go with a 17-4 now. But if they lose all 3 games, they could miss the playoffs. That's possible. I don't think that'll happen, but it's possible. Which means that Russell Wilson would have, basically single-handedly taken this team to the playoffs if they win one of these past 3 games, and it truly proves why he's the MVP and Danny Thompson doesn't know how to evaluate football. So
Oh boy.
That was the response I was hoping for. Thank you, Mr. Blackjack. This one's interesting. The Buccaneers at 8-5 currently hold the number 6 spot. Do they hold serve?
And what's their record again?
8-5.
How was the schedule?
Yeah, I'm getting on it right now. It's I lost my spot. Darn it. No, but why? I'll get there. It's going to be their last 3 games are going to be, one of them looks like it's the Falcons. And that's because it is. Next week is the Falcons. It's 2 games against the Falcons and the Lions.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're getting in. Okay, so by the way, if they do, we're predicting the Saints at 12-4. If they win out as we're thinking, that's the Bucks at 11-5. Those are the 2 records I predicted. They're just switched. Wow. So there you go. It's a 1-game difference, and I said I thought it might be. So.
I tell you what, if the Saints doesn't get Breeze back and they lose 2 of the 3 games, then Tampa Bay will be the champion, right, of the division.
If the Saints lose out and the Bucks win out, the Bucks would win the division, yes. But because they were swept, that's how it has to be. The Saints own the tiebreak. So, last one really quick. I know it's about, we're at that 2-hour mark right now, but the Cardinals are the number 7 spot. That last spot on the schedule there for the playoffs. If they win out and the Rams and Seahawks lose 1 game, the Cardinals would have won the division. So just to let you know. But the Cardinals, their final 3, I'm pretty sure at least one of them is the Rams. And I think they play the Rams and Seahawks in the next. No, I'm wrong. Okay, their last 3 games, Eagles, Niners, Rams. So the Cardinals could be playing for their playoff lives on week 17 with 2 winnable but not easy games going into it. I could argue that they have the easiest trio of the remaining NFC West competitive teams, and I could look really smart saying that the NFC West sends 3 teams. What say you?
Wow. You know what? I think, again, if you take the week-by-week approach, all of a sudden the Eagles with a little breath of fresh air from the new quarterback can beat the Cardinals this week.
It's certainly going to be a good game, just as good as you would have thought looking at it on the pregame schedule. I'll give you that. So
I think the Cardinals have the harder road to go through.
But I think they're still going to make the playoffs over the Vikings, don't you?
Yeah. Vikings. One thing with the Vikings, I'll ask you a question real quick before we go.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, who's your NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year? Is it Herbert or is it Justin Jefferson?
I mean, I like Jefferson a lot, but it's still got to be Herbert to me. I mean, considering the situation he was thrust into, considering he's competing in shootouts with old man Brady, old man Breeze, hell, Patrick Mahomes, the fact that the Chargers are coming up short ain't Herbert's fault, But that's what I got. Of course, that keeps moving, so we'll come back week to week, man. You never know.
Until we get to final resolution. Well, my friend, I know you're a football fan. I would let's call it a night. Lamar Jackson went back to the locker room with leg cramps.
Oh dear.
Ravens just went 3 and out in his 6-point game with like 13 minutes to go in the 4th quarter.
There you go.
So go enjoy yourself. Watch that 4th quarter and play in the playoffs.
So, hey, there you go. Shouts out really quick. Thanks to my man, Bobby Blackjack, for running going. I am Kyle Nash. Let's do the game. Find me on Twitter at the SOTG. And for my man, Danny Thompson, who's normally in, we'll see you next week. Until next time, y'all. Peace. Class dismissed.